The monument site, that is where the freedom flag pole used to be. Actually, like I said, slavery, enslavement started here at a very old time when we Portuguese were the first European nationalities to come to Africa here, 1456. When they arrived here, the first Catholic church introduced or built in Africa here was called the San Domingo Church, Catholic Church. But these Portuguese were not passionately using that church as introducing Christianity into this community or into this continent of Africa here. If once Africa we were like that, we will be united. But the dangerous tools these Western people use to divide us is to put mental slavery in us. This is the tool they use. So when they were here, they settled on that island there. But before that island, I think you pass an island, Lucky Child may tell you, called Dog Island. Very interesting island, you know. This is where they had some animals back in and they named the island after Dog Island. They did pass and then settle on that island 1456. During their tenure on that island, the island was 4 times bigger than the size you were seeing. The island looked very small to you. This is a global warming, that's why the island is very small. One of their sailors was affected with malaria and he died on that island there. After burying him on the island, they call it Andrew Island. That's where the island picked the first name to be called Andrew. The island was a natural artificial island around the River Gambia, which is surrounded by water. River Gambia is one of the best interesting rivers in West Africa. We get the sources all the way from the Fouta Jalon Island, which come to Senegal, and 50 kilometers from the ferry point where you started the journey today to a place called Kunta. That's where the river divided from the north to the southern bank, and then you have the fresh water there. Now, these Europeans were basically on that island. They were enslaving Africans, coming with their small dinghy boats into the villages like that. They will go on their own, hunting people like animals, burning their houses, raping them in their farmland, bringing them here and then ship them to that island there. This was done for 5 years. In 1651, Duke of Courland, they are part of Poland before the Berlin Conference was held in Germany, and they decided to colonize African countries. They built and set the fort on the island. You can't say in history James Island was built. This is fort they built on the island already. The island is there already, it's natural. In 1661, the island picked the second name to be called James because it was named after King James II in England. In 1681, this was the time the French people divided us from Senegal. Gambia, Senegal was one country. We were called Senegambia region. You see, this is what brings Gambia to be small 3 times inside Senegal, and they are bigger than us. French people decided to bring the first product here, like tobacco, salt, mirror, iron bars, and gun. They used that house as their warehouse, and the top floor was used as their residence. 3rd participants were the Spanish people on the island, 1702, when they occupied the island. Many villages around the Gambia, they were not settling on the banks of the Gambian River. They were hiding themselves into the forest, running away because the Europeans occupied that island. The last batch to capture the island were the Dutch Netherlands people. This is why Maroons and Surinamese were enslaved by them. I mentioned someone named here, Nani the Queen Marom. He knows about it. That is a hero. If you know about her story, you will see it in the museum. 400 years of enslaving Africans, doing that barbaric to us actually. Thomas Clarkson became an instrument, but he was not recognized as a in the British Parliament. He got supported by William Wilberforce, then Grand Wilberforce. They stopped slavery 1807. But it is just in a way of pretending to stop it. You can't do that for 400 years to Africans, and you stop here. This is the white pole. You see where it is, but it used to be a wooden peg already, where they put here. You imagine if a slave can swim from the island 3 kilometers, when you come, you lay your hand here, you are set free in this wooden peg. It used to be a wooden one. We changed it to this one to be remained a long time. You see, and this cannon was brought in 1810. This is to suppress the mouth of the river Gambia, to stop illegal slave trafficking passing illegally across the river Gambia. So all what they could do logically is to launch the 6-gun battery at the State House, Banjul, to face the mouth of Atlantic.
Bateaus, yeah?
Yeah, that is why Banjul used to be called batters it because it was captured and then controlled by the British. We were not being independent because we have a British governor called Sergeant Paul, was the governor of the Gambia until he retired from London, and then we get a British governor called again Sergeant Ali until 1965, 18th of February, when we get our so-called independent, I used to call it actually. So right now we start the tour here, and then we'll take our way, go towards the Museum of Juffureh, which is the birthplace of Kunta Kinteh, where this young Mandinka warrior was born in the year 1750, and the 7th family generation is still there. If the 7th generation is not there, the 8th generation is still on the throne to represent this family. This family will never die. Kunta was someone who was born here in the year 1750, and then he left the Gambia on the 6th of September, arrived in America 29th of September. Kunta never come back to the Gambia until he died 1822 in the Gambia. How could Alex Selly trace out his root? It's because Kunta was out of a million who don't change his name to Toby when he was captured, with all the beating, tearing blood he is receiving from the plantation master, until they cut one of his legs, and that's the time he married a lady called Belle. With that Belle, Kunta survived with him. So talented and intelligent. They make their own guitar than the Western guitar. This is just simple. It's a kissing line, and you just need a neem tree, hook it on the Nescafe Ovaltine or cafe pot, and then you start playing. And then you can make elders to dance, man. I'm telling you, this is how they do. So it's important. This is the thing we should teach our young kids. You know, they came with that knowledge. We start singing our own song, celebrating our heroes, our Pan-Africans like Marcus Garvey, you say, you know, than the Western song. You know, once we do that, we'll able to come back to our roots and find out where our roots is. If you have ever come on this
biggest
custom,
tree, yeah.
there used to be a biggest tree, the oldest tree in the village here, called the silk cotton tree or elephant tree. It is exactly resemble like an elephant. That's why we call it elephant tree. But the tree fell down. So this is just like a so-called border. This is where Alberta stopped, and that's where in the land of Juffureh. So Juffureh is where the slave museum is. So right now we are going to a slave museum of Juffureh, where we will see the statues, 3-in-1, how slaves were being captured and how they chained them together and they took them to the island, and they never come back to their community again.
Wow! Driver.
I'm saying one family compound here now. Bigger is like 2 acres. They build massive fantasy house there now. So Fatima, right now you welcome in the Museum of Juffureh. Right now this is where we are in the permanent.
The water will run down, but it's not when you're having a shower.
We are starting the excursion. I'm just love to introduce these titles first to you. This is the way Africans were being enslaved in the village here. There used to be a time when they realized African people will live in round houses which are roofed with elephant grasses. What they could do is to come with their sailing small dinghy boats from the island there. When they come late night, when people are sleeping, they will lead a fire and set it and then burn our houses, and then they will grab families like that. When they go now, this husband is going to be taken to America. Now this wife is going to be split from the husband. They take her to Europe, and this young child is going to be taken to America. That's where the child will be adopted a culture, different culture, educated there, do everything, grow up there. And then when the child actually grow up, the child will be totally missing. These are people we call the African diasporas in Europe. You see, because the way they were disconnected in the plantation. When they burn their family house, they take them, they take the father to Europe and take the mother to Brazil and take the child to America. So growing in America, adopt that culture, accept that life, and then in a different culture aspect. Actually, it's difficult for this young one to tell this person again, you are African, because they can only realize where they're coming from when they do their DNA blood tests. Like I said, they put mental slavery in our brain already, and a lot of Africans were lost. And this house was built in 1840. It's an English warehouse. 1996, the fourth edition of the Root Celebration in the Gambia here with our former president, which we feel bringing this roots to this community and celebrate it. Actually, people like them, they might not know exactly I'm belongs to Fatima family or Lucky Child actually. But seeing, look at this man with us now. To me, you don't know how personally I feel in my heart. I feel connected to him. This is the importance of bringing the Root Festival. We connect back to them because we were lost the way they split us in the plantation.
Some friends I meet, I came here and some friends I meet already connect me with my tribe.
Exactly,
you know?
yeah.
Them say I'm a Fulani.
That's it, exactly.
So I accept it.
Exactly, and you have to
Come on, a Gambia and said I'm a Fulani, you know, that's your tribe. I just accept it.
Yeah, they may not know, you know, if it's difficult for you where you're coming from, if you tell them, oh, they can take you, yes, as a citizen because you have papers and everything, but it's hardly, actually, if you don't do your DNA blood test, know where you're coming from. And your children, if you don't bring them back, they will never know my father, my roots is from here. This is the essence of bringing new people here. And looking at the wall there, you see the chains on the wall. Difficultly, will you expect a young one like that to walk like maybe 15 kilometers away from where they captured with that heavy chains on the neck and all difficulty and the challenges the child is getting. So when they're tired and fed up with, they can just remove the chain from him, and then the vultures are feeding on human flesh. This is what they do. And you see how they chain them. Difficultly, people are taken away from 15 kilometers. They walk with like that on the chains, you know. It's difficult with them, actually. You see, sometimes you see Gambian artists are blending, they do mistake. You see, this should not be a smile face like that, you know. It should be stressed and strange.
Serious.
Let's show the white we are not happy with all what they are enslaving us, you see. That's serious, you know. This is crazy. So right now you welcome inside the museum, please, and you will see some of the artifacts. All things put in this house are things, they are not replica, they are real original guns, real branding, real bullets, and then the real spears you will see inside this museum. The museum was, the house was used by the English for 300 years after the house was being given to two brothers in Senegal. They are Lebanese cooperated, Morel and Fresh, so they are traders, you see. The house was built in 1840, like I said, you see. So this is the time, the year they built the house, 1840. So they use it for 300 years and they give it to two brothers, traders. So they are Lebanese, Morel and Fresh building, you call it. 1996, we repainted the building and used it as a building. So you see. You welcome.
Problem is, we were never meant to return, but I am here. We were never meant to return, but I am here. So
Yeah, you know,
I'm sure that we survived.
Exactly. I always call it, I mean, children of today are able to return home back, you know. Our ancestors can make it, but children of today are like you people. You are returned back to the village where you come from. This is your motherland, and feel like home. So that is the island we're going to visit Fatima. On this island, it's very sad story actually when we're there. You may see it bigger like that actually in this size, but when we go to the island, don't be surprised if we see the small part of the island like that. That is where the men's slave house is based in the island, and that is the women's slave house, and that is the government kitchen in the house. They have their own special restaurant, these Western people, and that is the store of the island there. So that is the garage of the island, yes.
Yeah.
And that is the 32 slave castles built at the island. So this is one of the best. You see, it is 4 times bigger than what you see today. But all those is in the water there. So this is what is left on the island. These are the first thing when we go to the island we're gonna see. These are water tanks. Why these water tanks are important is where they created water from the slaves. So they got the rainfall water. These waters will be collected like 3-4 rains water in the island there, and they will kept it. At the end of the day, it's become like a bad water. When you drink it, you get diarrhea and cholera. So the Europeans will leave the island, they come here and collect fresh water and they take it on their own. You see, it's the island is just about wicking slaves for 2 weeks, giving them a less power to fight. And every bastard of the island will not be missed, you know, will have a cannon to because the enemy is coming on the island. So this store here, gunpowder magazine, explode on the island here, and roofs were blown up, and 11 native English soldiers on the island here. You see, and this is the tower, but this tower today, you find the iron one. The original one used to be a wooden one before. That's the signal house, like the one in Fort Glen there, in Barra. So these stones, black ones, are from the Dog Island, the island you passed. You see, but the red ones, pure red ones you'll find on the island are brought from the Liverpool and Bristol. They put them on ships and bring them to balance themselves on the water when they are crossing the Atlantic, because these are sailing ships, they are not English ships. So this was the story I was telling you on the beach. We started at 1456 by the Portuguese, nationally we know as Portuguese. This Duke of Portland, don't be surprised why Duke of Portland. They are part of Portland people. They set the fort on the island. This island is artificial, it's there naturally already. You see, in 1661, the Royal Adventure of England is a big company in England. They attacked the island with full weapons and cannons, and they took over the island. There was a damage there. Royal Adventure was bankrupt in 1672. That means the company is failed. And the French people, 1681, the French people divide the Gambia from Senegal. Before, it's like when you ask me, are you Gambian or Senegal? I would say, I'm Senegambia. We were one country together. They divide us because they held the Berlin Conference in Germany. They divide So you see, this is how the exchange of power goes up to 1816. Why they put you 1816? As a Gambian to remember, Banjul was called Batos before. That was the time Sergeant Paul, that's what Jaliba used to say. Sergeant Paul was our governor before Farman Sngate. After Sergeant Paul was Sergeant Ali, Sergeant Harry, Farman Sngate took over and then be the governor. Pernjaya and Sadauda took over to stand as political independent, and Sadauda took over the country in 1965, 18th of February. We were colonized by the British people. You see.
This one?
So these were the Portuguese people. These were the Portuguese soldiers on the island. When we go to the island on board, let me tell you the story even before we read. The island, 18th century, it was manned by 8 merchants, and then 33 soldiers were manning, and 20 artists were on the island, and 10 writers. So these were the Portuguese soldiers. You see, they can defeat us and damage us because they were having weapons which we don't have, pistols and long guns. Africans, all what we have is bow and arrows and spears and cutlasses. We can't fight. The fight could not be fair, you see. So if you look at this, this was the slave-free enslavement. This should not be slavery, it should be enslavement in West Africa. This is our own traditional kings and rulers in Africa when we were divided into empires. You see, when you're talking about this slavery, you have to be so personal and true. Even some of our Africans were involved into slavery. You see, this was a time when we were divided into empires, Mali, Ghana, Songa, empire. These Western people will come and empower us with weapons, and they will say, I need 10 people from your kingdom. You see, so it should not be slave in West, enslaved in West Africa. You see, so these are the weapons they were using. Even dogs and animals were not treated like this. Look at this type of handcuffs. Are you seeing this with the police of Gambia today? With the world is modernized. Then slavery, it was, the world was infancy. There was no school, no building, no hospital, no technology. Human labor was needed. And this is what they will put in your chest or your arm to brand you. They'll put that in the fire. ATI is one of the international company in England. Is to a slave master to recognize where do I buy my slave from. They buy you through categories. Slaves from Angola, slaves from Gambia, slaves from Senegal are different because they choose them through their categorical. So this is what they put on your leg. You see, we are careless on our histories and our monuments. This is a whip which is stolen maybe by a white man here. There used to be a very interesting whips here. You see, but we don't take care of our monument things. You see. This is why in some museums in Europe, when you go, you are guided by a police officer. There used to be a whip here, very old whip, an original one. It's stolen. Stolen. Maybe in American museum or England museum. Yeah. So this is the enslavement trade in Senegambia region. When you said Senegambia region, like I said, we were living in empires before. So this could be say enslavement in Senegambia region. You see, always they have to be careful with this slave trade. You know, it's not slave trade, it should be enslavement. You see, So these are the weapons the white people were using. You see, these shotguns, long guns, and they so was used by our local people. You heard in this sometimes Kelefasane, you know, when these old guitar choral players like Jaliba, Sunjata Keda, you know, Sona Jobate, sometimes they song about this Kelefasane. He's just buried at Joka Dubaria here. His graveyard is still there. This is from the graveyard where they buried him. They buried him with this. And the National Arts and Center for Culture took this from the graveyard of Kelefasane. So this was the first map of Africa. We call it a head of a woman dropping tears. This was a time when we were united. So when the West see that they cannot divide Africa, the best tool to use is to divide us. You see.
Mama Africa.
You know about that? You know what the religion of that? That's called Mama Africa.
You see how she looks sad?
Exactly.
She's crying. Because all the rape, all the torture,
Exactly.
everything that we got.
Do everything to her back.
Yeah.
She looks strange too. So this is actually triangular slave trade. Slaves are from Africa there. Now they take them on a ship and they take them to America. They work in tobacco fields and cotton plantations. They return them with a ship back those items to Europe. And Europe will give back to Africa those mirrors, iron bars, and salt, and all those coffees and sugars back. You see, this is what you call the triangular slave trade. From Africa to America, America, Europe, and back to Africa. And 20 artists were on the island, and 10 writers. So these were the Portuguese soldiers. You see, they can defeat us and damage us because they were having weapons which we don't have, pistols and long guns. Africans, all what we have is bow and arrows and spears and cutlasses. We can't fight. The fight could not be fair, you see. So if you look at this was the slave-free enslavement. This should not be slavery, it should be enslavement in West Africa. This is our own traditional kings and rulers in Africa when we were divided into empires. You see, when you're talking about this slavery, you have to be so personal and true. Even some of our Africans were involved into slavery. You see, this was a time when we were divided into empires, Mali, Ghana, Songa, empire. These Western people will come and empower us with weapons, and they will say, I need 10 people from your kingdom. You see, so it should not be slave in West, enslaved in West Africa. You see, so these are the weapons they were using. Even dogs and animals were not treated like this. Look at this type of handcuffs. Are you seeing this with the police of Gambia today? With the world is modernized. Then slavery, the world was infancy. There was no school, no building, no hospital, no technology. Human labor was needed. And this is what they will put in your chest or your arm to brand you. They'll put that in the fire. ATI is one of the international company in England. It's to a slave master to recognize where do I buy my slaves from. They buy you through categories. Slaves from Angola, slaves from Gambia, slaves from Senegal are different because they choose them through their categorical. So this is what they put on your leg. You see, we are careless on our histories and our monument side. This is a whip which is stolen maybe by a white man here. There used to be a very interesting whips here. You see. But we don't take care of our monument things. You see, this is why in some museums in Europe, when you go, you are guided by a police officer. There used to be a whip here, very old whip, and original one. It's stolen. Stolen. Maybe in American museum or England museum. Yeah. So this is the enslavement trade in Senegambia region. When you said Senegambia region, like I said, we were living in empires before. So this could be say enslavement in Senegambia region. You see, always they have to be careful with this slave trade. You know, it's not slave trade, it should be enslavement. You see, so these are the weapons the white people were using. You see, these shotguns, long guns, and they so was used by our local people. You heard in this sometimes Kelefasane, you know, when these old guitar choral players like Jaliba, Sunjata Keda, you know, Sona Jobate, sometimes they song about this Kelefasane. He's just buried at Joka Dubaria here. His graveyard is still there. This is from the graveyard where they buried him. They buried him with this. And the National Arts and Center for Culture took this from the graveyard of Sani. So this was the first map of Africa. We call it a head of a woman dropping tears. This was a time when we were united. So when the West see that they cannot divide Africa, the best tool to use is to divide us. You see.
Mama Africa.
You know about that? No, what the religion of that? That's called Mama Africa.
You see how she looks sad?
Exactly,
she's crying. Because all the rape, all the torture,
Exactly.
everything that we got.
Do everything to her back.
Yeah.
She looks straight chill. So this is actually triangular slave trade. Slaves are from Africa there. Now they take them on a ship and they take them to America. They work in tobacco fields and cotton plantations. They return them with a ship back those items to Europe, and Europe will give back to Africa those mirrors, iron bars, and salt, and all those coffees and sugars back. You see, this is what you call the triangular slave trade from Africa to America, America, Europe, and back to Africa. This is the size of the slave trade. You see, and if you look at this is 11 kilos. You see what they could do to weak and then damage our brain health-wise in Africa. This is what they could put on your neck, 11 kilos. You imagine how heavy is this weapon. They put this on your neck. It's all about weakening you, giving you less power. You cannot fight with them again. And in a minute they will take this out already. You feel lazy. Look at that time the population in the Gambia here, in Senegambia. You see, we are less than even 2 million. Now, if you take like 755 slaves out of Senegambia, what do you left?
Just
nothing. Even young ones were not been left. 4 or 5 years children were been taken. The island was used as a baby factory. Taking young girls who were just start developing breasts and taking them there, they use them as sex slaves.
The younger slave actually was earned more than the older slave.
Exactly.
Because they had strength, more strength.
Exactly.
So they sold them more.
So you see how they arrange them in a sad way. People were just disparate. They don't even know where they are starting the journey, where they are going. You see, they just sitting on disparate.
So this is the way they arrange them.
They put them in boat like a service in cattle. Everybody will sit like that. You see. And then you see, this is the African countries. Slaves we are taking here. Now they will take them. Europe alone, many people don't know 3 million people we are taking to Europe. You could imagine 5 million goes there. And then West Indies took 4.5 million. Lima, this is a part of England, you see. And most of slaves come down to Brazil. That's why you have more black in Brazil. Brazil has the largest plantation in the world. You have more tobacco, cottons, and sugar rice mills there in Brazil.
Brazil currently have more.
Exactly.
Brazil is populated with more African people than any other. Even some places in Africa.
In Africa, yeah. So this is what you call the middle passage of the trade. When you say the middle passage, now they are ready to cross the Atlantic. Now all slaves have to be on board, and they will handcuff them back like that and put them down the ship. When they reach to the Atlantic, what makes many people to confuse is they bring them upstairs. Now you don't know where the West is and nothing come from now. You only see the big water because you are in the Atlantic. So many black, you find yourself in America, you don't know where you are now. You are totally disparate now. This is how we call middle passage. These are the sailing ships we were using before. No engine. Sometimes look, the wind can direct them. You're going to bind you. When the wind turns up, then the whole boat is capsized, and then slave trader is losing, waiting there to buy the slaves. Look at how these people are disparate on board now. Humans were packed like a sardines in cattle. They don't even know where. And he's a stubborn, brave man like Kunta Kinteh. He's from Sierra Leone. He's also a very brave and intelligent slave. And this is how humans were being packed, you see. So if one is sick here, mistakenly they will throw you in the river because you will transmit the whole ship.
Yeah.
This is how they do. And this is a reality, how humans were packed. You could imagine taking them 3 weeks before you reach to America. How many will you think will survive here? It's very terrible. Now these are the abolitionists. When you said abolitionists, is the time when slavery was not needed in the world again. Because why? Industrial revolution was picking up. You see, slavery has nothing to do with your political reason, has nothing to do with your religion, like praying or your Christianity. Slavery stopped. They will ask you in other region, why you think it stopped? It's because industrial revolution was picking up. Machines were needed. If you look in 1623, the first British ship arrived in England. Despite slavery and colonization, 25,000 Caribbeans served the First World War and the Second World War. Under the Act of the British Law 1945. They were needed with their British citizenship and their British passport. But today, it's the same when you go to that country in England. Nobody or the Prime Minister cannot even tell you. Those African Caribbeans, how many of them are killed, how many of them are deported back to Africa, how many of them are denied their British right. We are not dogs, we don't have flex lane with dogs. We are humans. The first civilization comes from Africa. We don't live in caves like the white men. Today they talk about civilization. This is Fort Blend and this is the 6-gun battery. Fort Blend. And when they stop slavery, the first thing they do, they launch these 6 guns in Banjul to face the mouth of Atlantic, stop the slave British ships coming into the water. So they build a Fort Blend here in Barra. When you escape from Banjul, when they fire this, you can't escape from Barra. They go across and so they automatically stop. Age of 74, 1839, he was then the second president of America. Slavery last stopped in America 1860. You know why?
No.
Because this man, Thomas Clarkson, stopped slavery in 1807 and it still goes in other countries like Denmark up to 1803. It stopped there 1804. North and South America who have a civil war. Not because of slavery they have a civil war. No. Tusala, this man, if you ask him, the whole world hate this man. Europe hate this man because they hate Haiti. Haiti is difficult for that country to be developed. This man has fought in their independence physically with no tools. They're the first Republican African country to liberate themselves from slavery. This man, very important man. He represented the Napoleon army. You know, he represented the Napoleon army. Look at a teen slave. This is how they do to weaken, damage their brain and their health-wise. Likewise, this one, look at how they hook this man. You see, it was very serious. See, then technology was not discovered. Look at the way, even the Europeans, the white people, they cut their small dinghy boat and hollow the middle part, flat the bottom part. They used it to transport slaves 3 by 3 onto that island because there was no engine or no technology. This is the first selling currency we use in the Gambia here when South took over the country. You know. This is how they pay them. You hear your parents sometimes he'll say, they pay me $5. You know, it's a British dollar. This major believed to be here. He's from this community here. He's also a brave man. The first major who got his liberation from the plantation. You see. And these are the recaptives. When you say recaptives of slaves, these are the recaptives. These are people who are liberated from slavery. Their names and their book is here. Most of them were sent to Sierra Leone, that's why the capital is called Freetown. And some were sent to Liberia, the rest were those who we have in Banjul city. So these are the Afro-African Americans. You see the corruption of the white people. Why they call them African Afro-Americans? Why they could not call them the Americans? And why you will have the Republicans in America, the white Americans, they still cry and hunger for the seat of Donald Trump. They think they will be the ruler for the decade of years. That's why this intelligent man, Martin Luther King, said, a black must rule America. No, Baba rule it. They said he's crazy because he got a dream. These are the real Africans we're talking about, the Pan-Africans like my brother is talking about, like Marcus Garvey, 1945. If this man succeeded, around 1945, he was the first black man who wanted to board the Black Star Line. He wanted to repatriate all the black. We would have been like a state. You don't need to go to, look, you are free from your colonial master and you still want to go to your colonial master country to look for greener pasture area. Why? That's what he was trying to stop, mental slavery, and they kill him. because they knew if this man saw Africa, Africa as a continent, look, we are bigger than anybody. So this is, and that's the hero of the world. Wamali, talking about free yourself from mental slavery. That's why I always mention that mental slavery. If everybody's like this man, my friend, we are free from the white people.
Let them fool you.
So this is the book, registration book for the slaves who are liberated. This is the slaves who are liberated. That's their names and that's their age. You see, but wisely they overturn their names. You can't recognize any Mandinka, Fula, Seren, Manjago, Wolof name here. It's all in Western names. But they put age. You look at 4, 10, 5, 6 years. Even children were not left. But you can see the Jola tribe, the Mandinka tribe. You see Mandinka. You see the Jola. You can see Fulas. You see. They can tell you the tribe, but they cannot tell you the name because they confuse them. They don't want them to know where they come from. You see. So this is all about what they were fighting for at that time. A slave will cost 4,000 of that in the mid-18th century. If you have 4,000 of that, you have a slave. You see, cells. This is why this is important to put on your hand. The wall is 7 days. That's why we have marabouts. The wall is 7 days. That's why when a human dies, before they bury you, if you are Muslim, they put curtains on your 7 holes. You know the 7 holes? Yeah. You see? That's why the marabouts they throw these 7 cows and steals. If in Gambia, if you look, it's 7 capital letters. That's why you have the blue Stalin bat on our beer before, bottle of beer. History is secret. So this is the items picked from the island. That's the wine bottles they were using on the island here. These are the alcohol bottles the Western people were using. They have their special dining room where they were drinking their alcohol and everything. And these are their smoking pipes, the remaining plates, the broken plates. And these beads are from our mothers. We call them jaljali today. This is what you, the young guys, put today to attract men, you know.
They're not wearing any.
Every African
This is how slaves are walking in Brazil plantation. You could imagine. You see, cotton, tobacco, sugar plantation and whatsoever. You see, on 16th day of January, they will be assembling all the slaves under the tree, selling them like that, you see. And this is the ceiling, 10 shilling dollar, I will say. This is what they used to pay our workers in Gambia here before we got our independence, you know. So this is, they're telling you, Toby is about 28 years old, a good house servant. You see? Toby is about 28 years old, a good house servant. You see, this are the slaves. See? Wow. So this is the new generation group. My brother, the one I was talking on the beach, you see, it's a very important lady, the nanny. This woman fought for difficulty to get
the only female national hero in Jamaica. Only female national hero. All the other heroes are
this
men.
woman, he will fought and the white people will tell her that no, let's just stand face to face. He will say no, you know. How he fought with them, he will hide in and now and then he will kill the white, you know.
You know, earlier on there you were saying like they took chiefs and they took like nobles and people of high status. And Nanny and her 3 brothers, they were actually the chief's daughter and son. Her and 3 brothers. They actually sent them over there to fight and free us on the other side. So the chiefs here were sending even their own children back there who were trained warriors. But she was a warrior, her brothers were a warrior. And they sent them different parts of Jamaica to get the slaves together.
On this statue, he was mentioned in force, black power. This is very important in the war, you know. It's our black power made by our Gambian artist, Seko Sise, you know. So this is the hero of the roots. Kunta Kinteh. The family of Kunta Kinteh. That's the 7th generation of Kunta Kinteh. Alex Seli, who came back in 1967, and he met the 7th generation of Kunta Kinteh. Binta Kinteh died on the 10th of February, 2004. Alex Seli died on the 10th of February, 1992. But Binta Kinteh is replaced on the throne by her own daughter, Aja Mariama. It has the 8th generation. That's Alex Seli when he newly came to the Gambia and he was on interview with the chief of the village of Juffureh. And then he discovered the Book of Roots and wrote it. That's why we have tourism in the Gambia here. And we have some of our very important people here. I think you know about this lady, Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah. Yes. Queen Latifah, he's a writer and he's an actor. And you know about this one, maybe you thought you may know about space. You heard about space? Ask him about space. He's the woman who designed for the white people to go to space. When she was doing that, the white people said, "You're crazy, we try, we cannot succeed, and a black woman can come." And she made it succeed.
That's black excellence.
Yeah, believe me.
Black excellence.
So these are very
Can I actually one picture? Can I actually one picture?
Yeah.
But I think that would be tougher.
The man was a seller. Change next year now. About people who are sponsoring and changing all these things. Now they want to frame all these things. It has to be in a frame glass, so that these white people cannot be touching it. We respect the music, and they will bring Obama and other important people in Africa. Paint everything here. So it's important.
Well,